Let's head back to Georgia and pick up the testimony in the case against Melody Farris. The next witness is on the stand, another member of law enforcement. This is Lieutenant Charles Wesley Westbrook. He is a family crimes investigator.
Back to July 5th, 2018. Obviously, you know why you're here today?
Yes, sir.
And did you get called out to 2511 Purcell Lane, the Farris' residence?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when you went out there, tell the jury just what your aspect was and what your your duties or what you did that day.
Okay. So I was in the Criminal Investigation Division, and I was a supervisor on the evening shift, crimes against persons. We responded to and assigned cases mostly for family violence. And that particular day, we came in on the shift, and we're told that there was a missing person / death investigation going on at Purcell Lane, and we were asked to come out there and assist.
Now, July 5th was that Thursday. Do you remember about what time you got out there that afternoon?
Probably late in the afternoon. I don't remember exactly, but I'd say somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock, somewhere in that area.
911 calls around 12:45 or so you got it after that?
Yes, sir.
When you got there, were you assigned to, did you go and actually do anything right off the bat, or what were you doing?
We were standing by at first, waiting for some direction. Crime scene was there doing some stuff. And then we were tasked with different duties. I assisted in the area where the burning pit was, where trash had been burned and where the body had been discovered.
Now, the parties are not arguing over that. Was Gary Farris was found in the burn pile. So when you got there, from what you knew when you arrived, was this you were there to respond to medical emergency, or you were there responding to something more? When you responded to the scene, did you know, hey, this is a criminal investigation? Or
Right.
This was
Right. It was a criminal investigation. First responders had already been out there, secured the scene, and the day shift crimes against personnel were out there, start leading the investigation. So we were called out to assist.
Did you go out to the burn pit?
Yes, sir.
Did you see it?
Yes, sir.
Did you see the remains?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything at some point that catch y'all's attention?
Yes, sir. When everything had been kind of sectioned off and pieces of the remains were being placed on a table, and there was a section that was identified as a part of the chest cavity, and I saw something that was inconsistent with the rest of the burned and charred material. Looked almost like a pencil eraser in there, and pointed it out to forensics, and it was identified as a projectile from a bullet, from a cartridge.
Dr. Gooding, was she processing the scene?
Yes, sir, she was there.
Did she put it into a grid system?
Yes.
Did you help with any of the systematic search or sifting of the remains?
I helped set up some of the grid off system and removing some of the other brush that was not part of the fire.
Did you work with other detectives? Is it detectives or investigators? I think we say detectives.
At that time we had different rank structure: investigator, detective, sergeant. Now
that's going to make it really confusing for me.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to refer to them as detectives.
Okay.
Did you work with other detectives there?
Yes, sir.
Kuykendall, one of them?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did you end up going and looking in the house, the main house?
Yes, sir. I went in with him, starting some of the preliminary searches.
Be able to go into the washroom area and find anything in the washing machine?
Yes, sir. There is a mud room and a laundry room that's off of the garage that goes into the main part of the house. There's a washer and a dryer there, and in the washing machine there were some wet towels.
Did you go into the garage and see vehicles in the garage?
Yes, sir. There were 2 vehicles, a Toyota Sequoia and a Mercedes.
And did you know that the Sequoia was one that the defendant, Melody Farris, was driving?
It was identified as hers, yes, sir.
And did you see Melody Farris there at the scene?
Maybe from a distance. I think she was talking to some of the other detectives earlier in the day.
Talk to Hayes and other people?
Yes, sir.
You weren't really interviewing people or anything like that?
Not at that time, no, sir.
But when you looked in the Sequoia, the defendant's Sequoia, did you find some receipts and things like that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And then were pictures taken and turned over, other officers grabbed those things?
Yes, sir. Crime scene had already been through the house taking pictures, and then we went back through and started identifying and collecting evidence.
Now, you went on July 6th, I think was Friday, you go back to the scene?
Yes, sir. I think it was the 6th when we actually collected those items.
Okay. And on July 6th, you also collected the victim's wallet, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to mark this for identification as Westbrook 1. I'll hand it to you. I know you've looked at it, we've gone through that. See if you recognize that to be the wallet that you found inside Farris's residence. Yes,
sir, it is.
Now, where did you, based on the ECR, where did you find or your report, where was it found?
The kitchen counter.
And that was on, I guess that was on the ECR, is where that was written?
Yes, sir.
Was there other stuff that you remember on the counter?
There was, I believe there was a purse, and there was a credit card that was identified to me to put into evidence as well.
Do me a favor, take Westbrook 1, look through it, make sure that's the wallet, and has those credit cards and stuff that you found.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
To the best of your memory recollection, is that the wallet that you recovered from the scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
Pretty much in the same condition as it was for the most part?
Yes, sir.
This time I tendered it as Westbrook 1. Okay.
Nice, man.
What I'm going to do, if I can do this right, technology and I are not good friends. Judge, I'm going to try to use this elbow thing. All right. All right, what I'm doing, I'm going to make a record, so I'm going to talk as I do this. I have Westbrook Run 1, which is Gary's wallet, in my hands. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
And do you see me taking out all the cards and things inside?
Yes, sir.
And I'm putting that down. Then the rest of the wallet is pretty much empty, it looks like.
Yes, sir.
As I'm putting on the L mode, Westbrook 1, which is a one that has a light bulb in it, right?
There we go. And then if you zoom in, then it will.
Listen, I'm a lawyer. It's not put it past me now.
If you do the dial on top, it'll zoom in, and then it'll autofocus when it does that.
All right. And this appears to be a black leather wallet. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's the wallet. And then what I'm going to do, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8, 9.
All right, let's bring in our guest for this hour. We're going to hit the pause button on that testimony. You're not going to miss a moment, but we want to get some feedback on what we're seeing so far from New York City. New York criminal defense attorney who's actually in Los Angeles, former prosecutor Marie Pereira is with us. Marie, tell me what you think about this mother whose defense is all but pointing the fingers at the son.
I think she needs to be very careful, and they need to come up with a little bit more motive. If it's there, the defense, why would the son want to kill the father? And I'm looking at her with the black sweater, the pearls. She has this really, I don't know, elderly, mean pout. She doesn't look very likable. And I'm shocked. With all the details, she had a whole other sneaky link. He had a sneaky link, the deceased person. You would never tell by looking at this woman that she had all of this action going on.
Sneaky link. How does she deal with the 300-pounder and the body, because that's a big part of the defense is, all right, maybe did the state says she used the forklift. How does she get the body up the stairs originally? That's a lot of weight.
I think it's an excellent defense for her because he was 6'3", 300 pounds. How did she get him on top of that pile? That's a problem. But if she's blaming her son, defense needs to somehow explain why a son would want to kill a father. Did they find something in his phone? Was there acrimony? Are there witnesses to say that he was a mean, greedy son who disliked his father? Why would he do it? We don't have to prove motive. No side has to, but the jurors want it to make sense. CSE evidence has to explain, if not her, why him then?
Yeah, the prosecution had to explain in their opening that this wasn't a touchy-feely family. The jurors aren't going to be able to see necessarily a lot of communication in person between the son and the father, but said that was normal for them. So a lot of things to have to explain to make this jury understand some interesting family dynamics. Let's get to a break, but we have more testimony in the burn pile murder trial for Melody Farris in Georgia after this.
An A-list actor charged in a fatal shooting on a film set.
There is no way for the court to right this wrong.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Season finale Sunday night, 8/7 Central.
Only on Court TV.
You chose the place. You chose the victim. Back of the head. Execution style.
We have been watching testimony play out today in day 2 of the burn pile murder trial.
The defendant here, Melody Walker Farris. She faces multiple charges, including malice, murder, and the death of her husband, Gary. He was a prominent Atlanta area attorney. Very, very successful. The family had a ton of cash. Investigators say that Melody killed Gary, then burned his body on their property.
And right now, we are listening to, in the courtroom there in Georgia, from a family crimes investigator, Lieutenant Charles Westbrook. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
Judge, is this a system where you can take a picture or snapshot?
You can take a picture.
Judge, do you mind assisting me because I do not know how to do that?
There's a button for it. I don't know. And if y'all let me know what you're doing before you do it, then we can. I don't think there's an SD card on it, but it may have internal memory. Yeah, you can take a picture with your phone and then we can do it. But I know there's a picture option. We haven't used that in 4 years.
I should have thought this through. Here you go, somehow.
It will look like a little snap there.
It did.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do with the court's permission, I'll just take a picture of this and supplement to the record. Mr. Ray, Mr. Weaver, y'all good with that?
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
So y'all good with me just taking pictures, supplement?
Yeah.
Print it out. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more.
Yeah, okay, so it is trying to take a picture, but there is no SD card because we haven't, like I said, used it in 4 years. But you'll take a picture with your phone and we can get one in there for next time. You have to hit the center button to the next.
Policy.
Yeah, the menu system for that is particularly terrible.
Take one more picture here. You would not, sir, would you remove any cards and discard anything that was found in the wallet?
No, sir.
Is your procedure, when you find some evidence, to keep it in the same or substantial similar condition as when you found it?
Yes, sir, it is.
So you would not add anything to it?
No, sir.
You would not take anything away?
No, sir.
You would not tamper or otherwise mess or do anything else to the evidence?
No, sir.
Best of your knowledge, that's how his wallet was when it was found.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea where it was found in the house or where it was before it was on the counter?
No, sir, I don't.
And did you have to go back and look at the property receipts to remind yourself where you have obtained it from?
Yes, sir.
But you don't know how it got from wherever to there?
No, sir, I don't.
No other credit cards or debit cards? It is what it is. What's in there is what was in there.
Yes, sir. It's listed on the evidence control record.
July 11th, did you go with Kuykendall to Burr & Foreman, the law firm Gary worked for?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you talk to, I think, Angela Phillips there?
Yes, sir.
And then you said you found the towels and whatnot in the washer, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And did you have those turned over to the crime scene unit that collected those towels?
Yes, sir.
Judge, if I just have one moment. Just maybe we'll redirect another time. All right?
Drink. Is it Lieutenant Westbrook now?
No, sir. It's Sergeant.
Westbrook?
Yes,
My
sir.
name is Michael Ray. I represent Ms. Farris. Going to the wallet real quick. You said you found it. Did you find it on the 5th or the 6th?
The 6th.
But you were out there on the 5th too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, well, the house was searched on the 5th too, right?
There was some searching, I believe, on the 5th. It's kind of hard for me to remember. It's a little bit fuzzy, but it seems like we did go into the house on the 5th, and we're looking in some parts and then went back on the 6th.
Okay. Now, also, with the wallet. With the wallet, according to your testimony to Mr. Focus, that was everything that was found in the wallet.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it your testimony that there was no cash found in that wallet?
I don't recall any cash, and I don't think there's anything on the ECR as far as cash, but
Okay. If there was cash in the wallet, would it be held in evidence or deposited into the sheriff's escrow account?
I think normally it would just be kept in evidence because it's part of the crime scene. So as far as you know.
Okay, so as far as you know, if there was cash in that wallet, it would be in the wallet now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you did a couple of things other than the wallet that was found. So, and let me just also back up real quick. So just to clarify, that wallet was found by you on the counter in the kitchen of the main house on July the 6th, 2018.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you don't know how it got on the counter?
No, sir.
You don't know where the wallet originally was?
No, sir.
Okay. You also had searched Ms. Farris's Toyota, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to approach with some photographs for you to look at real quick.
I'll stipulate. Judge, I'll stipulate this.
He stipulated that they're authentic, so I'm just going to go ahead and move to admit Westbrook D 1 through 4.
Objection?
No, Judge.
Very good.
And Sergeant, you just keep those with you. Now, what day did you search the Toyota?
I believe it was the 6th.
Okay. You can look at, Judge, can you switch me here? You can look at Westbrook Defense 1. That is a front gate receipt for Lake Lanier Islands, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the date on that is July 4th at 1:54 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like it's a receipt for parking at Lake Lanier.
It says front gate, so
Okay, what?
access, I imagine it would be access to the...
In the middle of the receipt, you can see it says 15.
Oh, okay, yeah.
1-1 park?
Yep.
Okay. So that is one day before July the 5th, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now also, with that, you had, because you had written some reports in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
On Westbrook Defense 2, that is also a photograph of the Lake Lanier parking receipt, as well as a receipt of substance, customer copy of something, correct?
Yes, or something Farms and Company, Birmingham Highway.
Okay. You can you see, well, you've actually got it, but you can all zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, you can see it looks like Scottsdale Farms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. July the 2nd, 2018, do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Looks like at least this receipt is for $118.51.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Westbrook Defense 3, that is a copy of a bank receipt.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Wells Fargo bank receipt, to be specific. Is that correct? Wells Fargo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me pull up for us a little better photograph. Okay, that's a check-in, looks like an ATM receipt, right?
Yes, sir.
Where looks like money had been withdrawn, approximately $100.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you can also see from that receipt that the available balance, at least in that main, what it actually says main account, is $11,046.85.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you recall your report? Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have it in front of me.
Well, let me ask you first, then. You may not need it. In your report, you had listed out things that you had identified, and you had listed out the Lake Lanier Island receipt, AJS pit stop, a MAPCO receipt, and a Fuel City, I'm assuming, receipt. But you didn't list this. Do you recall that?
I don't recall seeing that, no, sir.
Okay. If it wasn't listed in your report,
All right, we are going to slip in a commercial break here. When we come back, we'll have more testimony from this case, Georgia versus Melody Farris. Stay with us. Court TV Live, along with Julia Janae. I'm Ted Rollins. We're watching this fascinating case out of the state of Georgia, and we're calling it the burn pile murder trial. The defendant here, Melanie Walker Farris, she's accused of killing her husband, Gary Farris. This is a family with a lot of money, multiple family members living on their Georgia estate. It's got a lot of intrigue, to say the least.
Yeah, and where it climaxed is that investigators believe that the mother here shot her husband, Gary. He was an attorney, very wealthy. They believe that she then burned his body on a fire pit that was on their expansive property worth $1 to $2 million. Let's get back into court now. The defense says she didn't do it, and they pointed the fingers at the adult son in this case. We're listening to testimony now from a family crimes investigator who searched the car of Melody Farris after they discovered the body.
If it wasn't listed in your report, why do you think you'd leave that?
I don't know, sir.
All right. And just to be clear, too, when did you search the car on the 6th?
I believe that's what the ECR says, yes, sir, the 6th.
And did you actually take the physical copies of these receipts into evidence?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay, but you did take the photographs?
No, sir, I didn't take the photographs.
You didn't take but you were there when it was searched?
I was there when it was searched, yes, sir.
Okay. But that's what your report says, is that you searched the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also did one other thing. You interviewed a woman named Angela Phillips. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was Gary Phillips' former secretary?
Administrative assistant, yes, sir.
Okay. And I believe it was you and Detective Kuykendall
yes, sir.
Interviewed her. And y'all did that interview down at Burr & Foreman offices?
Yes, sir.
And that interview was, I think it was audio and video recorded, correct?
I believe it was audio, but not video. No,
okay.
sir.
Do you recall whether or not, did you interview Ms. Phillips anymore or only that one time?
I don't recall talking to her again. I remember interviewing there during that session, but I don't recall talking to her again.
Okay. And you had, because I believe you interviewed her around the 11th, right?
Yes, sir.
With Kuykendall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, sir.
And her demeanor when you told her what had happened is that she was extremely upset, correct?
That's what I documented.
Okay.
I don't really recall a whole lot about the interview. I don't recall a whole lot of. I don't recall a whole lot about the interview as far as her demeanor and stuff, but I do remember documenting it and just using some of that information.
Okay, and because Detective Kuykendall was actually kind of lead on that, right?
I was doing a forensic victimology of Mr. Farris, and Kuykendall accompanied me to do that.
Okay. And just 1 second. Actually, let me approach and get those photographs real quick from you. One thing, during the interview that you had with Ms. Phillips, do you recall her establishing that she had had an ongoing affair with Gary Farris?
During that interview?
Yes.
No, sir.
Not during that interview?
Not during that interview, no, sir.
Okay. Since you had searched the Toyota, what we'll call Melody's car, did you not also search Gary's car, the Mercedes?
I don't recall. Honestly, I know they were there. I listed the cars in the report, but I don't have a memory of that.
Okay. And you don't recall, because we have no photographs of Gary's car. Do you recall you or anybody else taking any photograph of Gary's Mercedes?
Not in my presence that I recall, no, sir.
Okay. No further questions, Judge.
That's right. Can I see your photographs from that?
Yeah. Oh, I'll put them up there.
These are the defense. I think this is Westbrook G4 that you're looking at on the screen. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Read into the record for me the customer card number. Don't worry about all the X's, just the numbers after that.
The last 4 digits are 0078.
You have any idea whose card that is or where it came from?
Not off the top of my head, sir. No, sir.
Any idea where that card was found during the investigation?
Not that I know of. It may have been one of the ones in the wallet. I don't know. I have to look at my notes to see.
Look at Westbrook. What's this one here? But I'm looking for one in particular. And this is, there it is, Westbrook D2. Can you make out on this one the last 4 digits on this receipt?
0078.
Judge, for the record, I'm going to mark the photographs of the wallet in the cars as Westbrook 2 and Westbrook 3, intimidation evidence.
Okay.
And we'll mark those when I get some of the exhibit stickers.
Already got those down here?
Yes, Judge.
Wow, that's impressive.
I believe that's all I have for you, sir. Thank you.
I just have a couple. Okay. Sir, I wanted to, because you had stated on cross that you were doing a victimology.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that victimology was about Gary. Okay. And because I've got kind of your report on that, it's just really just a couple paragraphs, right?
The report, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So you went as part of that to talk to Angela Phillips.
Yes, sir.
Gary's secretary for 30 years.
Administrative assistant, yes, sir.
Okay. How did you know to go talk to her? Who did you learn that information from?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I know that Sergeant Hands asked me to do the victimology report.
Okay.
And then somewhere in our discussions, it may have been with him and Kuykendall to go down there and to interview her, but I don't remember who said that to me.
Okay. So you don't recall where you learned it, but eventually somehow you learned it and you went to go talk to her?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were you also aware that Angela Phillips had moved here in 1995 along with Gary?
Yes, sir.
And Melody and the children?
Yes, sir.
Did you not think in that interview, or did you ask her about whether or not her and Gary had ever had an affair before when you interviewed her?
I don't remember asking the specific question. I do remember writing in my report that there was no indication at that time that there had been an affair.
You can say that last part again?
There was no indication at that time that there had been an affair between Gary Farris and Angela Phillips.
Yeah. Were you at the interview where Ms. Phillips admitted that there had been some type of affair later on?
No, sir, I wasn't in that interview. I was informed that, I think, by Detective Hayes.
Okay. But you were informed of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No further questions?
Did you ever think for one moment that Angela had anything to do with the killing?
No, sir.
Did you know whether or not that affair was at that time or way in the past?
When I was informed about it later on, I was told that she had said that they had just decided at that time that it was inappropriate and they'd cut it off.
Was that at the time or in the past?
In the past.
Okay. But nothing makes you think she's a suspect in this, has anything to do with this, has any motive related to her whatsoever, right?
No, sir.
All right, you can sit down. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Probably a good time for us to break for lunch.
All right, they're taking a break there inside of the courtroom. Let's bring in our analyst who's standing by. Former prosecutor Marie Pereira is watching along. Marie, you heard that mention of the person that the victim was having an affair with, but it seemed that it was all hunky-dory, that they knew that the two had their own relationships outside of their marriage. They lived on separate floors inside of their home. But could this be something that goes towards a motive, or you heard the defense try to raise her as a potential suspect?
I think it was an excellent loss, and I think the defense attorney is very well-mannered, and he made some good points. He brought out the fact that, he was having an affair with his administrative assistant, Angela Phillips, and did you ever think that, to investigate her further when you did your Oh my God, the word. When you did your assessment of who is this person who is a victim of a crime, let's just say that. I think it was a good cross-examination. It created reasonable doubt. It really touched on messy policing, incomplete police work, tunnel vision, all of that. So good for defense, because all we need to do is throw one wrench in to say somebody else did it. If it wasn't the son, maybe it was the sneaky link. And oh wait, she wasn't the sneaky link. They both had an open marriage and they were like the free Farrises. Okay.
Free Farrises. A lot of people are equating this family to the Ewings from Dallas, and she kind of does look like Miss Ellie. Let's face it. The more characters that the defense can bring in helps, correct? Because we've already got Scott, the son. He might be a suspect. He'll likely testify. Angela Phillips now thrown into the mix, and when there is a lack of physical evidence pointed to the defendant, the more the merrier, correct, in terms of reasonable doubt at the end of the day when they're arguing their close.
Absolutely. The more people who had reason based on his victimology, right, to kill him, you know, side women, angry sons, creates reasonable doubt. And the less investigation the police put into those people shows tunnel vision. You didn't look for another suspect because you thought it was her from day one, so you failed to do your job, and the real person is out there. So they should have really meticulously investigated everyone who was linked to him if they were checking out what kind of victim he was and who was hating on him.
And who was hating on him seems to be one of the big questions inside the courtroom that the jury has to figure out. Who could have wanted to have this prominent attorney dead? Marie, stand by. We do have to get to a break. While they are on that lunch break in this Georgia trial, we are going to check in with the Florida trial that we are covering, the home renovation murder trial for Corey Benderum, and how weather is now affecting how things go inside of that courtroom.
We want to understand the mindset behind your actions in this case. Tell me, why are you here?
She needed payback.
Payback with her life?
Very funny, really. I'm laughing. You see me, I laugh.
I don't want any of this. Are you not prepared today to take responsibility for any of your crimes?
Interview with a Killer, a Court TV original series. Premieres October 20th, only on Court TV.
The burn pile murder trial for Melody Farris. And Georgia's on the lunch break there. That gives us an opportunity to turn our attention briefly to the state of Florida.
The state there and the defense rested their cases this morning in the trial for a contractor who's accused of killing his own client. The prosecution claims that Corey Benderum killed Susan Malden because she was going to sue him over a botched bathroom remodel, and he faces the death penalty if he's convicted of murder.
Benderum did not testify in his own defense. Take a listen to how that all played out in court this morning.
Mr. Benderum, have you had enough time to meet with your lawyers regarding whether or not you wish to testify?
Yes.
Have they answered all of your questions about that to your satisfaction?
Absolutely.
Do you need any more time?
Yes.
Have you made a decision of whether you would testify or not? And what is that decision?
That was.
Has anybody threatened you or coerced you into making that decision?
Yes.
Has anybody promised you anything to get you to make that decision?
Yes.
Are you making that decision to not testify freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
Right. We've also heard from two witnesses this morning. There was a possible third, Dr. Califoot, but I was advised at sidebar by Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Karate that they will not be calling him to testify. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you agree with that decision?
I do.
Do you wish there to be other witnesses to be called to testify on your behalf, other than the two that have already testified?
Yes.
Is there any evidence, documents, pictures, recordings, anything at all that you want your defense team to present to this jury?
I think they're done now.
Or you've done everything, they've done everything you want them to do in your case?
Yeah.
As well as the cross-examinations, and they've offered some evidence actually through this during the state's case. Are you satisfied with that?
Yes.
Overall, is there any dissatisfactions with the work that Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Karate have done on your behalf during this trial?
Absolutely.
Completely satisfied with their representation?
Yes.
Okay, let's bring in Marie Pereira, still with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. The decision not to testify here, probably a pretty good idea, and he seemed to be all in on not only that decision, but how his defense has gone so far. Reminder, this is a death penalty case. Your thoughts?
I think it's a good idea that he didn't take the stand because they had an overwhelming amount of evidence against him, and taking the stand would subject him to cross-examination. And I don't know that he would have an explanation as to all of the proof that they had. Actually, the motive is there. Him on video buying stuff to put her in a bag, and it was just too much. They had too much evidence on him video-wise, and he did the dreaded trip to Home Depot. How could you fight that? Better he be quiet and hope that the two witnesses who came on and said he was like Picasso, with the paintbrush, is enough to show, he was a good guy. I don't think it is. Better he just sit down.
Yeah, let's talk about those two witnesses. But first, just a note, the jury is actually not going to be back to hear the rest of this trial until Monday. Of course, they have Hurricane Milton that is coming to that area there in northeast, Florida. But they will have closing arguments on Monday, so there's going to be some time for them to think. I don't know if he'll be able to reopen evidence and say that he does want to testify, but sometimes judges do take that under consideration. But the two people that they called, one was a retired JAG officer, retired lawyer who was a client of his, a good client, someone that said, hey, he did a good job. He even had a nice wave. We have some video of this witness on the stand when they said, hey, do you recognize the defendant? He's someone who had a good experience with this contractor. And then the other witness is someone who was also a contractor who said, yes, it's common to have cuts and bruises on your hands when you're doing contracting work. Is that enough, Marie?
It's not enough because after the woman went missing, they saw him on video purchasing objects and things that would be used to cover up a crime. So the post-crime activity they saw is problematic, and you can't refute the digital evidence, the image of him shopping and doing things that were connected to the crime scene. And okay, two people came on to say he was good to me, but contractors are notorious for starting jobs and not finishing them, and she was an unhappy customer. So I don't think the two people who came on as character witnesses, low-key, did much because of all the overwhelming evidence they have on him after the woman went missing.
Yeah, probably is not going to move the needle in the guilt phase, but you never know in the penalty phase. Maybe it's someone they want to, keep around for his painting skills, and obviously he did do a good job at some point. So, it could have been strategic there, playing the long game, because to Marie's point, lots of evidence against him. Let's get a break here. When we come back, Matt Johnson is going to join us from Georgia for an update in the burn pile murder trial for Melody Farris. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae along with Ted Rollins. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Testimony is resuming in just a few minutes. After the lunch break there in the Georgia trial, we are following burn pile murder trial for Melody Farris.
She's accused of killing her husband, Gary. Prosecutors say she shot him and then burned his body in a fire pit on their property.
The defense there claims that there are too many unanswered questions to find her guilty, and they've been inferring and pointing to the fact that the murder weapon is missing. They also question how Melody could move her 300-pound husband onto a burn pile, so they seem to have some alternate theories.
Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson outside the courthouse for us. Crime scene investigator took the stand this morning. What has stood out to you today from testimony?
Lieutenant Lee Stewart took the stand today. Good afternoon. And it was key testimony on day 2 of this trial, more than 5 years in the making, because he's the one that processed the crime scene. He was head of that investigation. He spent several days on that multi-million-dollar farm. In fact, finding blood evidence on a tractor and also on the inside of the home. We're going to hear about that. And then he also processed the scene looking for weapons, and he found something very interesting in the barn. Take a listen.
When you went into the barn, did you find a gun?
Yes, we found a 32 caliber. I think it was a 32 caliber firearm, revolver.
When you found this gun, what did you notice about the gun? First of all, where was it at? What type of gun was it, and what did you notice about it?
It was a 32 caliber revolver. It appeared to be old. I believe it was in a cabinet in the barn, kind of off the tack, like a tack room, I believe. And obviously the first thing, one of the first things we do is we photograph it, and then obviously we inspect it to see if there's any rounds that have been fired or anything in it. And that's easy with the revolver recently because you can open the cylinder and look, and you can look at the primers on all of them. And none of the primers in that weapon that were loaded in the weapon had been fired. So it was photographed and left in place.
So it did not appear to be recently fired?
No.
All right, so this is going to be key evidence that both sides could either shift or try to use in their particular way. Because remember, the victim, Gary Farris, his body was found badly burned. He may have been burning on that burn pit for several days. Not much of him remained. It took 11 months for the ME to determine that he also died by gunshot wound. And then that's around the time where his wife was arrested. So the murder weapon was never recovered. The actual gun that was found on the property was not used in shooting and killing Gary Farris.
Yeah, we've been hearing some things, Matt, about the receipt for Lake Lanier. It's a huge lake. If you're in the Georgia area, you know it as a place that's it's pretty vast. So not sure if that's one of the reasons that the prosecution is trying to bring up that she may have gone there after this killing. The defense said in their opening statements that Melody didn't do this, but they made some suggestions, some inferences about other potential suspects. Tell us more about that.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because in case you missed it yesterday with the opening statements, we're getting a window into what the defense is going to be. They plan to put on a defense because they say that Melody, their client, did not commit this murder of her husband for 38 years. They say that, yes, they lived separate lives for many years, lived in separate parts of the house, but she never wanted him dead. They actually made the suggestion and planted the seed that maybe the children were involved in their father's death. Take a listen to this.
My father has come up missing, and we just searched the property. It's a small farm. We've been walking around looking for him, and I went where the fire is still smoldering. And I'm ex-military. I was deployed to Iraq. I've seen what burned up bodies look like, and this looks like a body.
So that 911 call is going to be very important. That's made by the son who discovers the burn pit and his father's body. But he is also a person who's going to take the stand and testify to the fact that he saw a strange gun at one point in time in a drawer in the main house. He lived above the barn, and in his house was ammunition that matched the ammunition that killed his father.
Yeah, that 38. So it was a 38 that was used. There's no gun, no 38 on the property anywhere, but he had the 38 special ammo in his apartment. It's a mystery. So far, Matt Johnson, thank you. Matt's going to continue to be with us throughout the day here on Court TV as this unfolds, this case out of Georgia. You know, sometimes you see a case coming a million miles away. Oh, I can't wait for this. This one kind of came up on us, and it's very intriguing. Mm-hmm. The sort of the lack of evidence, and then also these other players that have been brought in.
Tangled web of different people
strange
and
family dynamics.
Let's bring back in our guest for this hour. Joining us, attorney and former prosecutor Marie Pereira is with us. Marie, okay, so we have what Matt just highlighted that the gun that was found on the property doesn't match. The gun is missing. How problematic is that, especially in light of the ammunition matching the son's ammunition?
I think it works for the defendant. And, you know, I'm not into numerology, but 38 years, a 38 caliber bullet. You guys say intriguing. I say saucy and mixy. This is what's going on here. I think the fact that they can't find the gun works for the defendant. I think the fact that the bullet they found, the son happened to have the same type of bullet. All right. And I think the fact that they found him on that pile of sort of like an incinerator for the body works for the defendant too, because how would she be able to put him on that pile? These are all things that, you know, the prosecution needs to answer, because if they don't answer that, then it does create reasonable doubt. How did she even put the body on that pile of burning material?
They say she used the tractor, the forklift tractor, the front loader, scooped him up, threw him up there. You know, if they had photos of her operating the thing, it'd be one thing.
How did she get him out of the house, though?
Yes.
Getting him, getting the body onto the tractor is another scenario. Let's take a listen to the defense in the opening talking about the fact that the gun's missing, but there's ammo, 38, over in Scott's apartment.
Where is the gun? Don't know that either. Now, you're going to see photographs of guns. There were guns on the property. There was no 38 found on the property. I think there was an old 32 caliber that was found on the property. But we know that wasn't the gun in question. But what you will find is that Scott has quite a bit of 38 caliber ammunition in the barn. And in fact, he's got it in his bedside table. But yet he claims, and when he testifies, I assume he will be claiming the same thing, that he does not own a 38 caliber pistol. He will claim that he owned a .357 Magnum at one point, but that gun had been stolen years ago, and he didn't have anything that would shoot a 38. Yet he has at least one full box of 38 special ammunition and a loose several other various brands of 38 special in his nightstand. And you'll see all those. You'll see the photographs of those. But where is the gun? No idea. Where are the bullets? They're in Scott's house.
What do we think of that emotion from the defendant during the open there, blaming the son?
I like it. I love this defense attorney. It's like he's telling the story, and he's animated, but not too much like me. Scott has the bullets, and his, you know, I love it. And then her getting that little cry on, because she does have that, you know, mean looking pout, but she unpouted it and she started crying. It was a whole vibe. It works for her because storytelling, it's important what you look like. And your attorney has to be likable. He is likable, and he's throwing the shade on Scott like, wow. I love it.
Speaking of emotion, the only other time I've seen her crack a smile during testimony, she seems to be lighthearted with her attorneys, but when they were talking about her grandchildren, and this was during the openings for the prosecution, they talked about how much she loves her grandchildren, would get them any opportunity she could. She couldn't help but smile during that. So there is this family connection that perhaps doesn't exist with her husband, and maybe it's strained with her children. But do you think that if her defense is pointing the finger at her son, that she's on board with it? Or could that be why we were seeing that emotion while her defense is all but saying her son is the killer?
You know what? She has to be on board with it if her attorney is using that line of defense. It doesn't mean that she's a terrible person, but at the end of the day, she's fighting for her life. And her showing emotion when they talk about her grandkids shows that she's a grandma. Why would a grandma do that to grandpa? You know, it humanizes her, and the jury wants almost like a defendantology instead of a victimology. They want to see her as a person. All right? If Philip was here, I'm sure he would have a word for that, but I don't know it. So, you know, it makes her look good. The crying over her mention of her grandchildren, her crying during the opening statement, and then maybe even her having to even bring her son up is painful for her because nobody wants to do that. But if she thinks he did it, then it is what it is.
Yeah, and frankly, a jury might be turned off by a mother not supporting her son, and crying is a form of support. It's it's an emotion that a mother would have when her son is accused of something so horrible.
Separate herself from her defense attorney.
Yes, absolutely. Angela Phillips was also brought up. This was the lover of the victim in this case. Throwing another possible person out there. Let's listen to the way that the defense was able to bring it up in cross-examination of one of the investigators.
Did you not think in that interview, or did you ask her about whether or not her and Gary had ever had an affair before when you interviewed her?
I don't remember asking the specific question. I do remember writing in my report that there was no indication at that time that there had been an affair.
You can say that last part again?
There was no indication at that time that there had been an affair between Gary Farris and Angela Phillips.
Okay. Were you at the interview where Ms. Phillips admitted that there had been some type of affair later on?
No, sir, I wasn't in that interview. I was informed that, I think, by Detective Hayes.
Okay, but you weren't informed of that?
Yes, sir.
You know whether or not that affair was at that time or way in the past?
When I was informed about it later on, I was told that she had said that they had just decided at that time that it was inappropriate and they'd cut it off.
Right. Was that at the time or in the past?
In the past.
Okay. But nothing makes you think she's a suspect in this, has anything to do with this, has any motive related to her whatsoever, right?
No, sir.
That was actually on the redirect, I believe, after the defense had brought up the fact that this affair had taken place. From a strategic standpoint, is it the merrier in terms of potential suspects when at the end of the day you're going to argue reasonable doubt, or could you run into trouble if you start accusing multiple people rather to try to deflect from your client?
I don't think in this situation she could run into trouble, but you know, just the fact that the son had the matching bullets, right? That's not, you know, throwing him under the bus. It is what it is. And that administrative assistant, that was his whole girlfriend, all right? They both knew about it. They had an open marriage, but when you have other people in the mix, it's the police's responsibility to investigate. So if she could throw in that incomplete policing, messy policing, like I said, tunnel vision, it works. The more the merrier, because it's not like she's grabbing these strangers from the street. These are people who were connected to the victim. So it is not risky in this situation, but wait, let me show. I'm listening to the tea with my Court TV cup.
Our analyst, Marie Pereira. Stand by, Marie. We are going to get to a break.